These are the 10 most overpowered tier for tier vehicles in the entire game. Keep in mind, this is not a list of broken vehicles, so some of the more popular additions to the game may not be featured, as while they would rate highly on the overpowered scale, they are best categorized under broken due to their disregard of established game mechanics. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Steve, you make such manly and engaging content now. A top 10 list seems a bit benign, dull, even dare I say it, normal. Well, fear not, my viewer, as in order to keep this entertaining, I'm gonna conclude each numbered entry with a joke based upon the name of the tank. And to ensure that that's up to par, I've convinced my dad to kick me in the balls if it's not good enough. Here he comes now. The Matilda. Beginning with one from the archives, this British butane burner has been bullying low-tier battlefields for nigh on a decade. Among its finest attributes is weaponry that, at least in the penetration department, wouldn't lie apart from convention on tier 5 and 6 vehicles. Deceptively though, alpha damage does not hesitate to mount up with that sub 2 second reload. And with an aim time that limbos that and accuracy that merits a knowledgeable nod of respect, this gun is equipped to dispatch any adversary it can possibly encounter. Perhaps the second of its fine attributes is the first line of defense, armor. Armor that feels profoundly alien given its class designation. This is a medium, but it does not inhabit the role. 75mm of nope graces the front and speckles the side. At its weakest, it's 55. Many an adversary can disregard firepower as an appropriate recourse against this vehicle. That said, they could well elude it, as its woeful horsepower per ton ratio and mediocre top speed stand as a grateful limitation to this otherwise supreme vehicle's wrath down here at tier 4. Now for joke. Matilda? I barely got my plums. The 105 elephant. The name no one can pronounce, so let's talk about its pronounced features. Being a premium artillery, one of only 2 to be found in the game, this has long stood the test of time against any changes geared for balance, betterment, or befitting bittersweet goodbyes from its benefactors. Through nerfs, the stun changes, shell removal, shell replacements, the Leheffer's gun has remained unchanged, and it has remained cruel, unforgiving, one of the few arty to infect this mid-tier that can and willingly will keep you permanently immobilized whilst it pricks you to death. With a sub 10 second base reload that can drop to below 7.5 seconds, missing is
barely an inconvenience.
It's also rare. Given the above average accuracy, you had better hope it misses if it elects for its other ammo choice, because unless you enjoy taking 350 points of damage every 7.5 seconds, the 104mm of pen found at the tip of this thing's heat shells is something you really want to steer clear of. Speaking of staying clear, isn't that a task, given that in the entire game, and in the entire 52-strong lineup of artillery pieces found within, there is not one that even comes close to matching the view range of the Leheffer. 390. The same view range as the Type 64, the same as an AMX 13105, a T100 LT. This is the highest value in the entire game at tier 5. Why is it on the tier 5 French arty? Call it a premium perk. You gotta sympathise with wargaming somewhat because they can't legally change it. The elephants are indeed a protected species. Oh, okay, which one was... No, Gabriel, no! P26-40. Another often overlooked tank with an overlooked attribute, one that promotes it far above the crowd of competitors for the mediocre medium title of tier 4. This attribute is one type of shell. These high explosive shells carried by this thing's top two guns boast 60mm a pen with higher DPM, or 70mm a pen with slightly less, either one of which is well enough to decimate, destroy and dispatch a diverse array of opponents at tier 4. When penetrating HE shells, you rock a damage per minute of either 2,600 or 2,700, and even when encountering a wall through which HE cannot penetrate, a backup stock of AP or heat shells will keep your damage output viable. And consider your freedom to have that backup stock with an ammo capacity of 100 shells. This tank is capable in a vacuum. 10 degrees of gun deflection, adequate mobility, moderate gun performance, but can select opponents. In tailored situations, it can become an absolute monster, leaping its way through opposition at a pace nigh unmatchable at the tier. Now, I knew an Italian tank driver once, worked part-time as a chef. Unfortunately, he passed away. Oh, there's a feckin' gonad in my solar plexus. The FCM Pack 40. This thing is the first featured in this list to represent an archaic time of the game. See, there was a stage where tank destroyers received a class bonus. Very much like light tanks keeping the same concealment rating while moving as while stationary, the bonus for TDs was that they would lose far less camo rating upon firing their guns than a comparable tank of another class. Now, that particular perk has departed. However, it was naturally baked into the statistics of the vehicles of the time, and given Wargaming's reluctance to nerf premium vehicles, it stays on premium TDs from that era. Things like the SU-12244, E25, FCM Pack 40, even something like the SU-100. Why, God, why? So while this tank may be remarkable for that perk alone, better camo after firing, given its tier, and the fact that tier 3 tanks can no longer see tier 5, so the average view range set to oppose it is even lower, now the main trigger point that merits its inclusion is its view range. Because here you have a tier 3 tank destroyer with 400 meters of base view range, the best at the tier, and the best at the tier above it, and the tier above that, and the tier above that. In fact, to match the view range of this tier 3 tank destroyer, you need to go all the way to tier 8. Nothing before that in the entire game has this much view range, barely any even come close. Now this thing also has a very dangerous gun. High DPM, fairly accurate, excellent aim time, damn good pen. It can rip apart anything it sees, and as we've discussed, it sees a lot. Now yes, it does have one of the worst horsepower to ton ratios in the entire game. This thing is slow. It can't move about a lot, but I'll tell you what, it doesn't need to, because it can sit still, and whether you come from the east at dawn or the south at night, it will see you coming from a metric mile away. For some perspective, with a proper setup, this thing, sat in a bush, can have a view range of 563 and a camo rating after firing of nigh on 20%. All this at a tier where I'd say the average view range is probably about 320 meters. With those numbers, this thing, sitting 260 meters away from you, can shoot you in the feckin' face and not get spotted. If you see this thing on the battlefield, pack your shit and leave. Oh bother, I'm infertile. The E25. Now for this boy, I can give you the abridged version. It's an old meta premium TD, that camo rating after firing bonus still very much applies, except here it applies with mobility. Shocking mobility. Mobility outclassing some, mediums, a profile to scrape under clotheslines, a camo rating to die for, and a gun that lashes out lament like the tongue of a linguistic feminist. Did I mention it's got 8 degrees of gun depression? It's extremely accurate and has a 1.5 second aim time. Now surely you're thinking, is this really more overpowered than the FCM given the tier, given the view range dynamics? And a while back I would have agreed, however this current patch, vehicles below a certain tier cannot benefit from 3 equipment slots, cannot benefit from directives, and most pertinent cannot benefit from field mods. Because, ladies and gentlemen, some poor misguided fool decided to give the E25 access to a field mod that gives it more camo after firing. So, let me indulge it with some investment here, so that we may stand, or sit as it may be, in a bush, and after firing, while firing, we can have a view range in excess of 510 meters and a camo rating of 25.79. This is one of the only vehicles where this attribute is so utterly ridiculous that it can justify the use of a camonet on this vehicle for the pure memes. It also has over 3,100 DPM without a gun rammer. Also, before it fires, it has a camo of 71.83. In the open. Just for fun, here's a full camo E25 memeing against a bunch of hetzers. Oh god. Oh. Oh no, no. Die, hetzers, die.
Whoa, we picked up quite a bit of speed down the hill.
Victory! Sabotage all the hetzers.
Accidents happening.
Sabotage all the hetzers. Don't mind me, I'm just tracking all the hetzers. No! Get tracked, bitch! No! Run away! Run, cockroach! Run! No! Flee! Flee, little cockroach! Flee! Ah, no! My drive wheel! Ah, I'm fine. It's okay. I'm fine. Ow, no! Okay, I'm gonna need you to repair that when you're fucking quick.
Oh. Whoops.
Good work, dumbass. Okay, I managed to take out 3 hetzers in the initial Zerg. Will I take out more? We'll never know.
This looks so stupid.
Oh, God. No! Oh! No! Uh-oh. On the way! No! Curses. I should have kept going up the hill. Yeah. The Panza Qap B2. Now here we go, the only tank on this list with apex matchmaking. What does that mean? Well, it can only ever perch at the pinnacle. Like the capitate of the carpals, it is captain, chief, principal of any game it inhabits, as it can only ever be top tier, unless platooned with another non-apex vehicle. That's right, no tier 5 opponents, certainly no tier 6s. The B2 graces every SEAL clubber's garage for good reason. Let's begin with armour. Now, quirky is a decent word to call upon here, as the B2 doesn't embody the very concept of armour. It's dappled with frontal, visibly palpable weak spots, and even those that take a more refined inspection to add to the quest log may in fact be hit accidentally. In fact, the quirks of this vehicle are such that its anterior aspect presents the weakest armour when considered from the cardinal directions. However, therein lies a dangerous implication, and that is that the B2 is facing you. And likely enough, this rapid-fire, swift-aiming 47mm gun is parting with shells like the Red Sea parted with physics. I dare say premium shells are emerging none too tentatively from that barrel as well, as not too many commanders are tolerant of the lackluster AP pen. And given that this is a premium vehicle, the credit investment is far less offensive. But aside from armour, apart from weaponry, as well as the tendencies of gun depression, 610 hit points and barely adequate mobility, there is an oddity that truly solidifies this tank's inclusion on the list, and that is the speed of its traverse. Both its hull and turret turn at base speeds of about 45 degrees. That, for what this is deadly. If we compare it directly to the Matilda, which I would argue is the most at peer for this vehicle, despite the vastly different opposition they can face. The Matilda, to be clear, is really surprisingly fast to turn, beating, for example, the M103, the T10, fairly mobile tanks. Hell, on hard terrain it turns faster than a comet, but the B2 is even faster. Hell, on soft terrain, due to excellent terrain resistance, it's almost twice as fast. And this attribute, for those in the know, truly makes this tank shine. Because you see, the front and sides are the same nominal armor thickness. However, the side lacks the smattering of weak spots found on the front, and benefits from a 20mm of track-spaced armor. So yes, the Panza B2 joins a very exclusive club of vehicles that can and should present a common angle of 45 degrees or more. This grants it the ability to conceal one of its biggest weak spots, and its ability to turn, shimmy, wiggle in imitation of a far more graceful vehicle while still maintaining accuracy with an outstanding aim time presents an extremely difficult engagement for opponents. Fortunately, for those who wander within low tiers, few people quite grasp exactly how to play this vehicle's greatest strengths, and I'm for one hoping it stays that way. Lining up just short of medal position, we have one of the Langer tanks on this list, and one of the Langer's tanks in the game. The Su-76I, not to be confused with the Su-76 GFT, but who would make that mistake? Number 4 on this list. Let's make a callback. It's an old meta TD, so it can sit at tier 3 with 60% camo and 21.95 after firing. Now, while this is more than the FCM Pack 40, its view range is significantly more modest at a mediocre 300, so it's not going to spot you cross map. But it can cross map. Unlike the FCM, which basically has the mobility of a deflated basketball rolling down a hill, this thing has a top speed of 50. While its horsepower per ton ain't great, it can certainly get around. But with its average 5 degrees of gun depression and 20 degree arc of fire, is it really that offensive? Yes. This thing has a DPM of 1,778. That's more than a Churchill 2 tiers higher. 82mm of pen can get through what it faces, and 110 alpha damage can hurt it. But we are not done, because this Russian Rambler has 60mm of frontal armor. That's as much as a Valentine with over twice the mobility and double the firepower. Here's what it looks like when a Cruiser 3, a fairly average tier 3, is shooting at the front of an Su-76I. I call this tank the baby version of another recently nerfed tank because the gameplay it exhibits is shockingly similar. What tank am I talking about? Guess in the comments. Now, the one saving grace for those opposing this vehicle is that due to a very lackluster hit pool, its longevity against those that do have the pen to deal with it is extremely poor, likely only taking a few hits to remove it from play. But this tank walks the line between dangerous to unkillable depending on its adversary, and that is what grants it 4th place. And I would make a joke here, but honestly, Wargaming accidentally selling the Tech Tree Su-76 for 15,000 gold in the black market is enough comedy in itself. The Boogie. Bronze medal, partially because the tank is offensive in concept. However, in many capabilities, the Boogie is a bang-up average tank. Decently mobile, decent gun depression, enough armor to stop the crew falling out, and average view range. But guns! This tank often wields a 90mm gun, and that gun is solid. 240 alpha, 156 pen, 198 with premium. It's a pleasant gun for a tier 6 medium, but then we can switch to the 100mm. Now, to give you an idea of just how ridiculous this gun is, we're switching here from a 90 to 100mm gun, caliber goes up, damage goes up by 25%, and the reload goes down. There is no god. Now yes, the aim time is bad, the accuracy is abysmal, but the armor piercing shells. not the standard ammo. In fact, to use this gun properly, you should pretty much exclusively fire premium. These shells make this tank. They have 300 alpha damage with 168mm of pen, but in addition, these shells are not slow. This tank isn't weighed down by the classic howitzer weakness of high arc and slow travel time. These shells travel at 930 meters per second. That's just 5 from tier 6 medium. Pretty good, actually. Now, this gun has 2,262 base DPM with this gun. Really good for a tier 6 medium. And discounting the fact that given the right equipment it can push 2.9k DPM with a 6-second reload and 0.39 accuracy, aside from that, do not underestimate how powerful this alpha damage is. This alpha damage punch of 300 every 7 seconds completely changes the dynamic here. It's already a capable vehicle in its own right, but the ease at which you can trade with opponents, barring some fringe cases, you can trade favourably or equally with every heavy tank in the game at tier 6. That perk, combined with the mobility, flexibility, general dynamics of the vehicle, make it quite astoundingly deadly. The principal trait here is engagement dictation. Against other mediums, you can poke out, receive 150, or 300, and then do it again. Its trading potential is immense. So grab this tank and boogie on the dice floor. The Panza 2J. We all knew this German germ would feature here. Falling just short of the first place title, the Panza 2J has been game-breakingly overpowered since the dawn of time. First emerging as an exclusive when purchased with certain boxed editions of the game, this is a light tank, supposedly. These armor stats are abhorrent to any concept or balance. This is a tier 3 tank with the armor of a tier 5 heavy. Now, fortunately, it at least has the mobility of a tier 5 heavy too. Add to that one of the worst guns in the entire game. How is it this high on the list? Simply because it is the perfect embodiment of an overpowered tank. My dad, who has never played the game before, played one game in it, blocked 6,786 damage and got 2 kills. One by accident. Oh, this is beautiful. You knocked out his engine. You blocked 4,220 You just killed an M2 light. An M2 light just lammed you and killed himself.
I wonder what happened. I thought I felt a little something.
Good work, Dad. Excellent, excellent work. The sheer lunacy that can develop when you have a tank that, for some opponents, is literally impenetrable is both asinine and hilarious. Now, the 2J is not as overpowered as it once was, with most new tanks introduced at the tier these days at least standing a chance of penning it, whilst it may struggle to return the favour. But make no mistake, the 2J will be slinging premium, it will be using turbo and hardening, and it will never, ever stop being overpowered. The Panza IV, the Beast. The one tank I am missing on my main account that I really, truly want. The Panza IV is undebatably the most overpowered tank in World of Tanks. Imagine playing a Panther M10 at tier 5 and you've got a decent idea. The armor is exceptional. The mobility is exceptional. The gun is powerful. It gets preferential matchmaking. The gun depression is good. The view range is solid. And to give the most weight to my claims that this is number 1, this tank is heavy. Over 40 tons of medium tank moving at close to 60 kilometers per hour. The best lambing vehicle in the entire game, bar none. If 1,800 base DPM at tier 5 wasn't enough, which, to be clear, it is, the lambs, the bumps, the aggression that this vehicle merits. This is a bully. A cruel, powerful brawler. A potent, gas-guzzling fiend. If I, for cultured YouTubing purposes, wanted to find any place where someone acquired a zany hero's medal, Knowledge check. The Zany Heroes medal is awarded for getting either 14 or 15 kills in a game. Basically, stop being a noob, kill the entire enemy team, lol. The Panza Qap would be one of my candidates. This medal is so rare, it's mainly acquired in 1 in 10 million games. If you select a random tank and search all of the replays ever uploaded to one replays, it is a guarantee that you will find even one tank with this medal, even one replay in a tank with this medal. The Panza Qap has 3. At tier 5. This is not tier 3, it's not like Panzer 2J, you expect that nonsense at tier 3. But tier 5 is solidly mid-tier. This isn't the meta-bereft wasteland of noob seals and cavemen, it's tier 5. People are starting to get a handle on things, meta's starting to become somewhat established, it's harder to diverge from the norm in terms of excellence the higher tier you go. To pile another putrid rotting log on this festering opinionated dumpster fire, this is a rare tank. Perhaps possessed by 1 in a couple of thousand players, and it still has 3 of these medals. And that's it, my friends, my list of the most overpowered tanks in the game. Did I miss anything? What did I get the wrong order? And did you like this video? Would you like to see another one covering my top 10 broken vehicles in the game? Let me know if so by leaving a like and telling me so in a comment. Now, if you're interested in making some good health changes and getting some gains, then do check out my fitness website, www.workoutways.co.uk. And you should be able to get some good... Nah! You can make positive health changes! Yay! Anyway, I'm a go now.
And his sword skills are legendary, brutal stuff. Like he does a thing and screws it up. But the world of tanks is kindergarten, childish software. Real men play armored warfare, PvE. And his business model is actually insane, making money off of stuff but doesn't have to play a game. Also his leadership skills are dope as fuck. He says YOLO up.